This video covers filling out a product document label for a PDS archive. In this video, we will cover why you should include documents in your archive and how to fill out a product document label. We will be using the Oxygen XML Editor. Feel free to pause or go back in the video at any time. Any information that needs to be provided in order to understand the data within an archive or can provide a larger context on what is included in the archive can be added through documents. The PDS4 term we use is Product Document. Every product archived in the PDS requires a label. Here we will give an example of a product document label with a focus on what makes it different from other labels. The first section of each label is the identification area. A document label identification area is similar to what we would see in an observational product label. Though it is not required, it is helpful to include the Citation Information class. Documents likely have authorship information built in. Including that information here adds metadata that increases the ease of finding your data. The Citation Information class has two required attributes: description and publication year. There are also several optional attributes. You can include one each of author list, DOI, and editor list, which we strongly recommend. You can include as many entries of the keyword attribute as needed. The last section under identification area in this label is the modification history. This class is optional, but is highly recommended for products that have been updated and have a version ID higher than 1.0. Each time the product is updated, add a modification detail class here. Modification detail has three required attributes: modification date, version ID, and description. Modification date is the date you modified the product. For the sake of consistency, be sure to maintain a chronological order between modification dates if you have multiple modification detail entries. Version ID is the version number for this particular modification of the product. The latest version ID in your modification history should match the version ID given above in identification area. Be sure to increment your version ID with each successive modification detail. Finally, in the description attribute, write a description of the changes made to the product that warranted a new version. The next section after identification area in this label is the context area. This class is optional and contains the same fields as the observational area of an observational product label. However, fields required for observational products are optional in the context area. The wide variety of classes available in context area allow for a very detailed description of the product you are providing the label for, but not every class applies to every product. For example, time coordinates do not make sense for a mission description document. Possible classes include discipline area, investigation area, mission area, observing system, primary results summary, target identification, and time coordinates. In our example, we have included investigation area and observing system. After context area, you could include an optional reference list class. This label does not contain a reference list class, but its inclusion could be helpful depending on your needs. For example, here is a reference list from another label that includes citations that were within the text of the document. You can include those citations here under External Reference. The last section of a document label is the document class. This class contains what could be thought of as the card catalog information for the document being labeled. That is, the description of the logical context of the document, like title and author, as well as classes to define separate physical editions. There is only one required attribute under the document class: publication date. The optional attributes include acknowledgement text, author list, copyright, description, document editions, document name, DOI, editor list, and revision ID. You can list one of each attribute. Include author list, editor list, or DOI only if it differs from what you entered in citation information earlier in the label. Even though it is optional, document edition should be included. The entry here is a number that coincides with the number of document edition entries entered below. There is one required class, which is document edition. You can list as many document edition entries as needed. Document edition has the following required attributes: edition name, files, and language. Edition name is usually used to disambiguate versions of the document, such as a PDF versus a text version. Files denotes how many files comprise the document. This can be more than one in some instances. Language is required to be English. There are an additional two optional attributes, description and starting point identifier. If there is more than one file included in the document, use the starting point identifier to identify which document should be read first. You may list only one of each attribute. Document Edition has a required class called Document File. Include an instance of Document File for each file within the document. Document File has two required attributes, Document Standard ID and File Name. Document Standard ID is where you list the format of the document and has many format options such as HTML, LaTeX, and PDF. File Name is the name of the document associated with this file. There are several optional attributes that could be included, such as directory path name, comment, creation date time, and file size. And with that, we have completed our document label. Here is the finished document label with all the sections connected together. Thank you for watching our video on filling out a product document label. In this video we covered why you should include documents in your archive and how to fill out a product document label.